Right now, my hair is actually kind of flat. There's no product in it right now. So,
okay.
Good morning, Mitch, and thank you so much for inviting me onto your show. It's a privilege, and I'm very humbled to have been asked. My name is Sean Weiss, and I'm a partner, and I serve as the Vice President and Chief Compliance Officer for Doctors Management out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Our organization provides a variety of services to physicians, hospitals, and other type of ancillary providers in the healthcare space who are looking to maximize their reimbursements while mitigating their risk of audit or investigation by the federal payer programs, government agencies, and commercial payers.
Wow. Well, that's a mouthful. That means you're comprehensive, is how I would just say. You provide comprehensive services for the healthcare arena. It's like
I should have started with that.
Yeah, I would say that you're the toll booth operators to make sure every dot is applied to the I's and T's are crossed, is the way I would say it, metaphorically.
Yeah, I think we're the Amazon of healthcare.
That's another one. Okay, we got a couple new titles. Yeah, okay. All the boxes will be ticked. Okay, and just make the money Jeffy makes. All right.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, well, how would your friends describe you? Let's talk about you a little bit.
How would my friends describe me? My friends outside of work would say one of the most relaxed, entertaining, easygoing, willing to have a good time people that you'll meet. I'll give you the shirt off my back. I'll drop what I'm doing at a moment's notice to jump on a plane and help a friend. Just, always try to be a good human being. My work friends would say I'm intense. I'm a perfectionist. I demand excellence and nothing short of that. But I'm fair and balanced. And as I tell my staff and I tell my clients, when a mistake is made, the buck stops with me, and I bear full responsibility for everything that, happens under my watch.
Okay. Oh, well, that's very good. So what is your greatest accomplishment? And I'm going to give you latitude to respond any way you choose.
My greatest accomplishment. I think if my wife were sitting next to me, she would just be laughing. But for me, in all sincerity, I think my greatest accomplishment was watching our 3 children grow up to be good, contributing citizens, and having the opportunity to be a part of raising 5 grandbabies. I think for me, family is everything first and foremost. I spent the first 20+ years of my career running the rat race in major corporations in the healthcare industry, trying to establish a name, trying to find financial security for my family. And then just one day, everything hit. And for me, it was no longer about how hard and how fast could I run. Money wasn't what drove me. It was the passion that I had for my family, the passion that I had for making sure that the clients I work with are provided a level playing ground against the government, and that they were always afforded the due process that our legal system says they're entitled to.
Okay. Now, what do you wish you had known when you started out?
That one day I was going to need a hair transplant.
Well, I get it. Yeah, that's just unfortunate. It's called testosterone.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's a great question. The one thing that I wish I had known when I started out in this industry was where I was going to wind up and how long it was going to take me to get there, because I was young, I was immature, I was overly aggressive, and I've realized that over the last 10 years of my career, and really the last 10 years of my life, that taking an approach that is collaborative, that is thoughtful, that is sincere, allows you to keep people closer to you, to allow them to trust you, and for you to continue to build your reputation, not only as one of the best at what you do, but one of the most caring, sincere professionals. Because my clients, they're my family, they're my friends, and when they're hurting, I'm hurting, and I say that sincerely.
So you take it to heart. You take your profession to heart and the results that they experience.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Okay. And this is a little bit shifting gears. What are you curious about right now? Again, total latitude in answering that any way you choose.
Yeah, obviously, I have a lot of concerns. And the thing that I'm the most curious about right now with respect to my professional career is what's going to happen if these mandates that have been pushed out under the Biden-Harris executive order, mandating that all Americans receive their COVID-19 vaccine, and it's enforced in healthcare to the degree that it has. Are we going to see a collapse of the clinical aspect of healthcare? Because nurses, physicians, and other types of providers who are uncomfortable with the vaccine for one reason or another, and I will tell you personally, I am not an anti-vaxxer. I'm fully vaccinated myself, but I believe in choice. I believe people have a right to understand the information. They have a right to look at the results that people are having, both positive and adverse effects to the vaccine, and make their own decision. But we're seeing a lot of hospitals, we're seeing a lot of healthcare facilities having to shut down departments in their hospitals. It just happened in New York about a month ago. An entire labor and delivery department in upstate New York had to shut down because all of their nurses, including the charge nurse, walked out when they were told it was going to be mandated. And, if you take,
Wow.
And if you take a look at what's going on over in Australia right now, the riots that are going on over there, it's just mind-boggling because of the mandates and the lockdowns. And I understand they are under-vaccinated in Australia, but, we cannot afford to watch humanity digress any further than what it already has.
We'll see what happens there. The world is changing rapidly.
Yeah.
So, all right. So what's something you have failed at?
God, I wish my wife were sitting here. She could
I
tell
am
you.
sure. I know she would love to say, I can talk about that.
She could tell you about my daily failures, I'm sure. Something that I failed at, in being completely honest and transparent, I think that I failed at a number of things. I failed in the early years on being the father that I always wanted to be, because I was so busy working and traveling that I missed out on a lot of the really important milestones for my kids. My wife and I have always had a beautiful relationship. It's always been one of, best friends and, respect for each other and admiration for what each other does. My wife is a healthcare professional as well. She's a frontline worker. But, I would say over the last 7, 8 years, as I really reprioritized my life personally, she and I have been able to really reconnect in such a meaningful way that it doesn't change some of the things that I feel that I failed at early on in our marriage and being a parent, but I feel like it's really starting to push those sad memories of the early years out of the way, and it's being replaced with just beautiful memories that will last for the rest of our lives. In business, I think that I failed, in the young years by being overly aggressive, by speaking when I should be listening, speaking when I should be hearing what others who were wiser and more experienced were trying to teach me, but I wasn't smart enough to put my pride to the side. And as a result, I made some mistakes, but
Sure.
that's why, I'm such a perfectionist with everything that I do now. And I have been that way for the last probably 15 years of my professional career.
Okay. And if you could have coffee with a historical figure, who would you choose? Now, the caveat here, Sean, is they must no longer be with us.
Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
Everything that I have read, everything that I have studied, history was a minor for me in my education. But I've always been fascinated with history. But I look at what Abraham Lincoln was able to accomplish with the abolishment of slavery, with really restructuring his party, and being, to use what everybody calls him, Honest Abe, but using honesty and transparency to deliver messages to the people of our country and to bring us through some of the hardest times that this country saw and experienced in the earliest years. I just think he's the most incredible, amazing person for me. And, I would say the second closest person to that is Ronald Reagan.
Okay. Interesting. I knew his son, but that's a story for another day. Ronald Reagan Jr.
Yes.
Really good guy. So, all right. So now let's bring it forward. Who's been your most important professional mentor? And that person can be with us still.
Oh, wow. That's a tough one because I've had some incredible mentors. My very first mentor that I had in my career was 25 years ago, a gentleman by the name of Larry Gold. He was what we called a gray hair who had been in the industry for decades and very well respected, very smart man, multiple degrees from Harvard and Yale and different prestigious universities. I think he had 3 or 4 degrees. Just brilliant man. He taught me everything that I needed to know about business, everything that I thought I learned in school that I didn't really know. The former CEO of our company, Paul King, taught me how to be compassionate, taught me how to listen and hear and let clients guide themselves to what's right for them. But I would say my ultimate mentor was my grandfather.
Okay.
He was a military man. He came out of the military, went to work for Brayman Cadillac as the overall service director right before they were acquired by GM. And when they were acquired by GM, he was actually approached by Lee Iacocca. And he went to work for Lee Iacocca, retired at the end of his professional career as the senior vice president of Chrysler Corporation, and was just one of the most family-oriented but brilliant men I've ever had an opportunity to know and to be around. And he gave me the one piece of advice that I've always tried to follow, but I was too immature in the beginning of my career, as I said. And his words were very simple. It was this: if you do something for money, you're probably not going to be successful. If you find something that you love, something that you're passionate about, and you focus your energy on doing good, the money will come, but you'll have a level of gratification for all the wonderful things that you did to help humanity.
Got it. Okay. Well, if you could go back now to your freshman in college, your 18-year-old self, what piece of advice would you give a young Sean?
Don't do all the things that you're about to do.
Ah! Okay. Well,
focus less on the girls, focus less on the partying, focus less on playing sports and spending all your time in the gym, and submerge yourself into your studies. Pay attention more. But yeah, don't do some of the stuff that you're about to do. That would be my biggest piece of advice to my 18-year-old self now.
Okay. And I know you're a man with goals. You're still looking forward. And that's so what is your plan to achieve your goals? And let's just set this. I don't like to tell clients or friends, "Hey, where do you see yourself in 10 years?" Because things are changing so dynamically. Let's go 2 years out.
2 years out, I would like to hope that I've been building a legacy for the next generation of healthcare professionals that are going to come behind me,
okay,
and carry that torch forward. What I would like to accomplish is to help providers get out of the way of themselves. I am a huge physician advocate. I spent 10 years, and I continue to advocate and lobby on behalf of physicians in our healthcare industry. I've worked both the upper and lower chambers of the Congress early in my career. I'm still connected to a lot of Congress people. And I want physicians to advocate more for themselves. I want their societies to advocate for their members. I want the government to recognize that not all physicians are bad people, and that when mistakes are made in their coding, their billing, how they submit a claim for reimbursement, that not every errored claim is a false act claim. It is erroneous. We're humans. We make mistakes. If you put aside the professional side, in the next 2 years, I think I'm more concerned with achieving the goals that I've set for myself with my family.
Okay.
And that's continuously working on my relationship with my wife, building it to the level that, is sustainable for the next 50 years, God willing. Making sure that I'm involved in every aspect of my children's lives, my grandchildren's lives, so that one day when I'm not here, they'll have the same wonderful memories and they'll feel the same way about me that I felt and I feel towards my grandfather.
Okay. And if you had to write a book tomorrow, what would you write about?
Wow. How to avoid mistakes in your young years.
Okay. Okay.
I think I know it sounds kind of hokey, but if you talk to the people who really know me, they'll tell you this is what I spend a lot of time thinking about. I try not to live in the past, but I also try not to allow my past to resurface and to define who I am and how I do things. So I think I would write a step-by-step guide on how not to be a jerk.
All right. Well, that's an interesting topic. How not to be, that would probably sell. How not to be a jerk. Okay.
Maybe.
From a former jerk off, yeah. Oh gosh, that's on live. That was great, Mitch. All right. If I could have asked you one question, then here's your opportunity. What should I ask you? And then you can answer it any way you wish.
Oh, a question you wish I'd asked you, and how would you have answered? Wow. That's really a tough one. I got it. If you could go back to when you were first entering college, what would you have done?
Okay,
Given the
well, that's
opportunity.
similar to the advice you would give your 18-year-old self.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think playing off of that, you know, my original studies when I went into college was pre-med.
Okay.
And I allowed certain things to influence my decisions to transition away from medicine and go into business and the legal aspect of things. If I had it to do all over, even given how much I love and how passionate I am about my career and what I do for people, I would stick with being a doctor, and I would do my best to serve people. I honestly thought I was going to be either a neurosurgeon or an orthopedic surgeon. I love working with my hands. I love building things. I love, fixing things. And I think if I had that opportunity to do it again, I would stick with being a doctor.
Okay. And how do you promote your personal and company brand?
So, my company has its own marketing team, and we have I have 9 partners in my firm. We're a pretty good size organization. We have over 100 employees. So we have a marketing team, and I'm constantly working with them to make sure that we're putting forth the right image, we're putting out the right message based on the changing landscape of our industry. But for myself, I do a lot of self-promotion. I have a podcast called The Compliance Guy. I also do a second podcast with a former special agent from the Office of Inspector General and a data analyst, Eric Rubenstein and Jordan Johnson. It's called Coffee, Compliance, and Chuckleheads.
Oh, interesting.
And that's really how I promote myself. Yeah.
Okay. And how can I support you?
I think for me, getting our message out that, there is an opportunity for physicians to enjoy being physicians and not having to simply focus on the business of medicine. So there's an opportunity for them to maximize their revenues and mitigate their risks with government entities, lurking around every corner.
Okay. And how would you rate your experience on the show today? What would you have to say?
Oh, I would honestly, even if you weren't listening and asking me that question, I'd give it a 10.
Great. Appreciate it.
I think you're a fantastic host. I think you make it very easy, and I would welcome the opportunity to talk with you anytime.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And what would you say is your final word, John?
I think my final word is this. Physicians should be physicians. Business people should do what they can to make sure that their client, which are the physicians and the providers of healthcare services, are able to focus on taking care and treating patients and restoring them back to an optimal level of health without having to always think about how much money are they going to get paid for this, or how often are they going to get audited by the government. And, I'll say what I always say at the end of every one of my podcasts: be good to yourself, but more importantly, be good to each other.
Okay. Well, Sean, it's been a great experience to have you on the show. And here's what I took away from you. I mean, you're passionate. I know you go into your mode when you're talking about what you do in the professional world for Doctors Management Group and making sure that people are covered. But here are a few words I would use to describe you: caring, passionate, and committed.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, caring, passionate, and committed. And family. This is what you embody as Sean M. Weiss. And I'm able to quickly kind of summarize what I pull from an interview. And when I find out about people, we've connected digitally, but I'll shake your hand from afar. You're in Georgia, I'm in Las Vegas. There we go, the thumbs up. And I know from one fellow surfer to another, it's been a great pleasure to have you on here today.
Pleasure's
No
all
hair
mine.
transplants. Yay, it works. Okay. Thanks, buddy.
You got it.